Hello everyone, it's Bob Butera of the YogaLife Institute meditation course, lesson 7. As the substitute for Tina for lesson 6, it was great to see everyone, to notice how much you've been learning and working with the material and confirming that this is not necessarily an easy process. Lesson 7 introduces the idea of contentment and this concept of human being versus human doing. Many people describe the type A or East Coast mentality of being one of accomplishment, therefore you exist because you do a lot of good things, versus you exist because you exist. Starting with childhood, we all receive the message from the adults and the teachers, and as adults we even give this message. And I will say that it's a very cultural thing. I try not to give this message to children, but it's really tough because it's the way we are. When Johnny comes home or Susie comes home from school and they have an A+, we say, wow, that's great, you did so well. They get first place in the swim meet and we talk about how great they are, and we're basically reinforcing them being a human doing. We give them love when they do something that we think is good, or we give them love when they struggle based on what they're doing in order to uplift them so that they might be doing well. So the whole point of it is that we're not affirming Johnny or Susie because of who they are, but because of what they do. Now, if you say to Johnny, who comes home with an A, what did you learn in science that you got such a good grade? Or Susie, you won the swim meet. What was it like when you were swimming the race? See, those are questions that have them reinvestigate the experience they had, which enforces the positive behaviors of the experience, but it comes from their heart, and they start to tell you about themselves. They feel connected to you, and they feel appreciated for being a human being, because if Johnny gets a D or Susie loses the swim race, you could ask her, what was it like to lose the swim race? And then you could help her with her emotions that are probably going to be upset. You could say to Johnny, you got a D in science. What was it like? What happened? What did you learn? What didn't you learn? What do you think we can do? How can we make it more fun for you? And so forth. So think about how you treat yourself. Do you value yourself on these different levels? Now, I have two really important lists to fill out, and I want you to think about what's driving you in your life right now. And as we've spoken about in these various courses, these underlying beliefs that we have about life will dictate the amount of chaotic thoughts that we carry around. And the more that these attitudes are contrary to the human being side of things, or the truthful side of living, the more thoughts we're going to have when we close our eyes to try to meditate and feel calm. So it's not that anything we're doing is radically wrong. We just need to readjust it so that we can move from this successful person into a human being person who can be successful while being content. So I also have a list called the Kick Your Bucket List, all the things you want to do in your life, and again, evaluate whether those points on the Kick the Bucket list are actually relevant, or if they're something you think you should do. Now, the meditation exercise for this week is an exercise with a question, who am I? It's sometimes just called the Who Am I exercise, and you can do this exercise at varying levels. You start journaling and writing down some of the points that I have in the handout. What do I like? What defines me? How do I define myself? What's my background? And you get in touch with what has constructed the who am I. And then that can slowly distill into larger concepts, into I'm a part of the human race. I'm a part of nature. I'm not just the man named John. I'm a brother of all men, you see, and you start to lose the egocentric definition of who you are, and it expands into a larger one, and then you feel part of the universe, and suddenly the who am I becomes a very deep concept, and it kind of hits the crux of that human being. You just are. There's no complete definition. But in order to get to that deeper place, you have to understand all that makes you up and what has contributed to the who am I point. There'll be some breathing exercises that relate to silence with breath retention in this class. Just make sure that if you have high blood pressure, I don't think anyone in our program is pregnant, but those two conditions especially need to be careful with holding the breath for prolonged periods of time. But that exercise is very helpful for silence. And I think you're going to have a good time with this one as these exercises keep building. You're never going to be able to do everything every week. So if you concentrate on, say, that one exercise from last week on perception, you look into this who am I exercise this week, hopefully you'll be getting a very good grounding. The reason why I offer more points than you can do each week is that I know some of the points are going to align with some of you and other ones for others. So we're not expecting you to do everything, but to take from the lessons what you need the most. Have a great class. We'll welcome Tina back from her vacation. Take care.